Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the paper talk. As you can see, I'm not at Old Trafford. I'm in the studio, so I can't give you the weather report. Well, I can. It's pretty sunny outside for anyone that cares. Lots of news to get through. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for the Jadon Sancho announcement. I will get to that a little bit later on. But the big news this morning focuses on Raphael Varane. Can we get excited? Are we allowed to get excited about this now? Is it looking like this is going to happen? Get involved in the comments. It's obviously live. Let us know what you think. Give us a like as well and share if you're not doing it already. Loads of reports. We had this last night. We had it again this morning. That Raphael Varane, I think it was Mohamed Bouhassi was saying it was almost contractually agreed that he was coming to Old Trafford. And the latest news this morning, which is being covered pretty much everywhere, is that Kieran Trippier and Varane look like they could be heading to Old Trafford. We know we've been linked with Kieran Trippier for the last 6 months or whatever, or probably a little bit less than that. Oh, actually, it's probably a little bit more than that if you actually look at it. It's probably going back a full year. But Raphael Varane, we'll start with him. One of the most highly decorated defenders on the planet. He's won the World Cup. He's won 4 Champions Leagues. He's won 3 La Ligas. He's won the lot. He's just an absolute class defender. Now, he's got a year left on his contract. It looks like he's leaving Madrid. He isn't going to sign a new deal. United are in for him. And it sounds as though he's up for coming to Old Trafford. I'm still one of those where he's such a good player, and I'm so excited at the prospects of it that I won't allow myself to fully commit and go like, it's happening, despite the fact a lot of journalists who we respect say it looks like it's on. So people in the chat already, people comment on it. Tony Barry says Jonathan Schrager says Varane moving along nicely. Jonathan Schrager, very reliable with his sources. He's usually the guy that's got the team news, in the morning of the game. So he says it's moving along nicely. But Hafsi said last night it was almost there. I think Sam Pilger, another journalist we respect, was talking about it as well and saying that it looks like it's going to happen. So Raphael Varane could be a Manchester United player. I think the time scale of this has been sort of muted as the next week or two. That's when it looks like it could happen. But as long as it does happen, we can wait a week or two. I'm not too fussed as what I see if it does happen. Mike Smith in the Super Chat says, Varane looks like it's happening. More and more people jumping on it. I don't see why Athletic have gone from 40 million to 80 million in 2 weeks, though. Yeah, that's with Kieran Trippier. You can see there from the graphic about Varane, he's he's valued at around 60 million because he's got a year left on his contract. If he had longer, he'd be worth a lot more because he is one of the best defenders on the planet. I mean, he's won the lot and he always puts in sort of top draw performances. So United looking to get that deal done for around the 50-55 million mark, I think, is the numbers being quoted. Now, Kieran Trippier is a funny one because, as I said earlier, I've been linked with Kieran Trippier for a little while. You can see there, cost around 30 million. That's probably an average of all the different price tags that have been bandied about. Because when we were first linked with Kieran Trippier, it looked like it was going to be a very cheap deal. You think he's got a year left on his contract. He's 30 years old. He thought maybe we can get this deal done for, the price was at first suggested being around 10 million quid, which you think for an England international who's still got at least 2 or 3 seasons left in him, obviously knows the Premier League, a different type of right back than the one we've got in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it makes loads of sense for United to be after him and also for the price not to be too drastic because of all the reasons I've already mentioned. However, we spoke to Fabrizio Romano on this channel. We had him on the Tier 1 transfer podcast. Myself and Joe Smith spoke to him, and he said Athletic were looking around closer to the 40 million euro mark, which is obviously a massive leap up from around 10-15 million to go to 40 million euros, which I'm not up to speed with the conversion rate, but it's at least around 35 million quid in it. So there was a massive disparity from the first suggested price and the most recent one. However, things have changed slightly now, and it looks like Atletico Madrid aren't going to play hardball. They aren't going to sort of price the Trippier out of this move. He's been reportedly keen on moving back to the Premier League, and he's more than happy to come to Manchester United. He's got obviously strong ties to the area, coming from Bury, which is in Greater Manchester. Some may just say it's Manchester, others say it's Greater Manchester. I'll let you lot decide that one. But anyway, he's got ties to the Premier League. He's got ties to Manchester. He's open to the idea of coming to Manchester United. He's had a pretty good few years, hasn't he, Kieran Trippier? Went to the World Cup, got to the semi-final, scored in the semi-final, of course. Didn't have the greatest time when he came back for Spurs, but then gets a move to Atletico Madrid and wins La Liga in his first season. I mean, it's a pretty phenomenal sort of career path, if you will, considering it wasn't that long ago. Where was it? Burnley was he at? But yeah, he's doing really well. Gone to Athletic, won the La Liga, open to coming back. Is a very, very good attacking fullback. And the one flaw in Aaron Wan-Bissaka's game is going forward. Attack-wise, he isn't the greatest. Defensively, he's as good as any fullback on the planet, and I mean that. He's almost faultless defensively. He really is. And you look at some of the attackers that he squares up against and keeps quiet, the likes of Raheem Sterling and players like that, he just does an absolute job on them. But going forward, there's still a couple of question marks. So you look at it, you think, 30 years old, Kieran Trippier comes in for 2 or 3 seasons. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's still in his early 20s, them two rotate. And then by the time Kieran Trippier is ready to move on, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has made the right back position completely his own and maybe, hopefully, learn a thing about going forward. Or even Ethan Laird comes in as the backup there and it's then Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Ethan Laird vying for that place on the right-hand side. 22 in the comments says, Berwick, Lancashire, end of. I said I wasn't going to get involved in this debate. You can get involved in the debate in the chat if you will. I'm sitting this one out. Yeah, all I know is Bury's a lovely town. Vinay Navneet says last night's Transfers Live was great, Joe. Jay even call myself Joe. What's all that about? Thanks for that, mate. Much appreciate the comments. Yeah, get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think of Kieran Trippier because it's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? I think if we all were honest, he wasn't top of our list of players we wanted to get. You wouldn't, when you go make your wish list, you won't go, well, we need Trippier. But it's a transfer that I think everyone's up for because it makes a lot of sense. He can come in. He's very good going forward, as I've said. I don't need to repeat myself. So it makes a lot of sense. But the price tag, someone's already in it. I think it's Shatsy says 30 million for a 30-year-old is crazy. It is a little bit crazy. I mean, I know it's like Glazonomics. Well, who cares? They're only going to take the money out of the club anyway. But if this is sort of one of those where if we spend all this money on Trippier, we haven't got any money left towards a central defensive midfielder, which I think we desperately need, then it does seem a little bit excessive. I thought around 18 million quid sounded right for me because you've got a very good player who, okay, he's only got a year left, but Athletic could keep him. They could say, all right, well, not 18 million quid, it's worth us keeping him for another season. He has just helped us win the Liga. So I felt it kind of made sense, but 30 million is a lot and, 40 million euros or whatever. I'm not really into that one, but we'll wait and see. We have got other options at right back, which I will get to in a minute. First of all, though, as well, just moving on from Kieran Trippier and Varane, that deal looks like it could be happening for both of them. A lot of newspapers reporting it this morning. Perhaps, as we send the thumb, a double swoop there for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which, if we brought in Sancho, which we're still waiting for the announcement there, but I think that's done, isn't it? Come on. And Varane and Trippier, that is a decent transfer window. I still feel, though, I don't want to be that guy, but I still feel we need a midfielder. In that vein, we have been linked with Eduardo Camavinga. You can see then, French international, 18 years old, valued at around 50 million quid. I don't think he's got long left on his contracts at Ron, so that's why you can get him for an 18-year-old who's played a lot of games. I think he's played 95 games in professional football, which for an 18-year-old is shitloads, isn't it? Excuse my language. So, yeah, I think, if we could get Camavinga in for that kind of money, it makes a lot of sense. He's only going to get better. He could potentially beat United for the next decade or whatever. Everyone's happy. Although there is a bit of a fly in the ointment in the sense that he apparently is more open to a move to Spain. The likes of Real Madrid have been looking at him and he could be heading that way, which would be a massive shame because I think we all got a little bit excited, didn't we, for Eduardo Camavinga? I did anyway. It wasn't a player who, again, a bit like Trippier, wasn't like Camavinga's the one for me, that's the one we should prioritise. But when we were linked with him, and you look at it and you go, actually, yeah, definitely, he's sort of just what we need. I mean, he is a bit more box-to-box, I think, than a 6, and ideally we need a 6, but he can play in that role. He's only going to get better. He's got a lot of sort of years left in him, and, he's raved about across Europe, especially in France. Obviously, an international as well at such a young age. I mean, he's such an exciting prospect, and you feel that he could come in and do a job in several positions, especially if, as expected, Paul Pogba, his countryman, ends up leaving. We don't know what's going on with Paul Pogba. He's not signed a new deal, and in January I think he can sign a pre-contract agreement with other clubs. It worries me a lot that we haven't sorted out the Paul Pogba issue. some people in the chat, I'm going to get into it. Aaron says, I'd love to see Declan Rice at United. I'd love to see Declan Rice at United. I thought he had a very good Euros. I think he's had a very, very good sort of 18 months to 2 years at West Ham. When we were first linked with him a couple of years ago for like 90 million quid, I was like, that's ridiculous. But since then, he's just got better and better. West Ham have had a good season. He's been a big part of that. And obviously what he did at the Euros impressed a lot of people as well. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think Declan Rice is coming anytime soon. Also, Adnan Mutsiaba says, Jay, thoughts on the ESPN report? Ole told the players he's looking to play a more attacking system this season. Doesn't surprise me. I think Ole's been trying to veer towards that for the last season or two. We seemed to sort of move a little bit up the pitch, didn't we? The first sort of full season under Ole, it was more sort of defensive, not defensive, sorry, a little bit more counter-attack. And although we still have that now and again, he did seem to be playing a little bit more high-pressing. There's talk, obviously, as I mentioned, Kieran Trippier coming in to be a more attacking fullback. We've seen Luke Shaw getting forward as well. So maybe there is a little bit more attack-minded, especially when you've got a player who is an out-and-out right winger in Jadon Sancho. I say he's an out-and-out right winger. He can play as an out-and-out right winger, but he can cut in as well. But, you know, he's better suited to that position of right wing than perhaps Mason Greenwood is, who's more of a striker, really, and he's just an out-and-out striker almost that's playing on the right-hand side because he's got such a good left foot. So with Sancho, with perhaps Trippier, yeah, it would make sense if we did adopt a more attacking philosophy, if I can quote Mr. Louis van Gaal. Should we move on to another attacking fullback we've got, not one that we're after, one we've actually got, is Diogo Dalot. Now, he's been linked with a permanent move. He went on loan to AC Milan, of course, ended up playing against us, which is just bizarre in the Europa League. He's been linked with a move there permanently, but at the minute, he's still a Manchester United player, and it looks like he could end up staying at Manchester United. I mean, there's various reports here. There was a time when it looked like his career at Manchester United was completely over. Ole just didn't seem to fancy him. He got the loan move, and it looked like, you know, he'd done relatively well there at the San Siro, so it's going to become permanent. However, it hasn't become permanent. He went to the Euros almost on a wild card, if you will, after Cancelo got COVID. Did himself proud, I thought, Dalot, for Portugal. Thought he played really well. So he's come back to Old Trafford. Maybe Ole looks at it and goes, listen, he's had a good Euros. He's had a good spell over in Syria. He's 21 years old. He's actually the reason Ole's got a job, if you remember that game in Paris when it was him that won the penalty that Marcus converted that made us beat Paris Saint-Germain, that more or less got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the permanent job. So maybe he owes him a bit of loyalty. I don't know. But yeah, Dalot, very much an attacking fullback. Could be staying at Old Trafford. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. AC Milan still want him. He's still at Manchester United. Could he be an option? If we don't get Kieran Trippier, maybe Ole looks towards him. If we do get Kieran Trippier, maybe that spells the end for Diogo Dalot. We'll have to wait and see. Naresh Mulkunte says, realistically speaking, how soon do you think Varane can settle in to perform at his best? Could he take a year or two to get used to the Premier League? It's a very good question, that, because I think we all assume, don't we, with someone like Raphael Varane, because he's so good and he's been at Real Madrid and he's for France he's won the World Cup, for Real Madrid he's won all those Champions Leagues and La Ligas. You think, well, he'll just come into the Premier League and instantaneously be a hit. I think he's good enough to do that. I think it might take him a few weeks or whatever. We saw it with even someone like Thiago Silva, where you just have to get your bearings, you have to get used to the pace of the game and whatnot. But I don't expect him to take a year or two. I think he'll be able to do it in a matter of months rather than years. But we may, if we get him, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, if we get him, just maybe temper your expectations. Maybe not get too dismayed if his first couple of games is a little bit shakier, just as he gets used to the pace of the Premier League, because it is a very fastly paced league. It's a lot quicker than a lot of other leagues out there, including Liga. And Liga at the minute isn't vintage, is it? It's not a vintage era for the Liga. You look at the likes of Real Madrid, obviously where Varane's at, Barcelona, you know, aren't having the best of spells. Atletico Madrid obviously won the Liga. I don't feel like it is a golden era for that league. So coming into the Premier League, it may be a little bit tough for him at first, but the cream always rises. He's going to be minting if he comes to the Premier League. Let's not kid ourselves. He's just one of the best defenders in the world, and I think he'll do all right. Just finally on Jadon Sancho, we're just waiting. We're still waiting for the news on Jadon Sancho. We thought we were going to get an announcement yesterday. Didn't happen, so we think it'll be today. We expect it today, any minute almost. It could be right now. It could be later on this afternoon. But Jadon Sancho to be officially unveiled as a Manchester United player. We obviously had the kit announcement yesterday, so everyone thought, oh, well, they'll announce him with the kit. That didn't happen. Who knows? Maybe they're going to announce Varane, Kieran Trippier, and Jadon Sancho all together today. Unlikely, but you never know. Do get involved with the comments. Do hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget as well to hit the notification bell on the subscribe button. So when we go live, which we do, whenever there's breaking news, you get that notification. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.